In this extensive and candid conversation with Mike Durant, the retired U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer for and helicopter pilot, best known for surviving captivity following the 1993 Mogadishu Black Hawk Down incident, a wide range of topics are covered. Discussion ranges from his early military career, the evolution of special operations aviation, and significant combat missions such as Just Cause, Desert Storm, and Somalia, to his harrowing experience as a prisoner of war. Durant also shares his perspectives on recent political and immigration issues, his Senate campaign, and his continued involvement with veterans support organizations. Mike Durant grew up in a small town in New Hampshire around blue-collar families and was initially uninterested in education, opting instead to pursue a summer job with a local Army helicopter pilot, Joe Brigham's. This experience sparked his passion for flying helicopters. Although initially recruited into Army intelligence as a Spanish voice intercept operator, Durant was determined to get into flight school, which he eventually accomplished despite bureaucratic setbacks. He graduated near the top of his flight school class and was assigned to fly the Black Hawk helicopter, which he describes as the most impressive aircraft he had ever seen. His early assignments included medevac missions in South Korea, where he gained substantial flight hours and developed as an experienced aviator. Durant later sought out and joined the then new 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers. This unit specialized in supporting special operations forces and became well known for innovative tactics and elite capabilities. Durant was actively involved in the development and operational transition of the Black Hawk helicopter from a utility aircraft to an armed attack platform with miniguns, rocket pods, and eventually Hellfire missiles. His unit participated in many significant operations, including Prime Chance in the Persian Gulf, where combat flying over water at low altitude was challenging due to sandstorms and poor visibility. He recounts participation in the 1989 Just Cause invasion of Panama, supporting Rangers and Special Forces with forward arming and refueling points, and describes the challenges and dangers of flying in hostile urban environments. Durant also flew combat missions during Desert Storm, escorting Chinooks and engaging enemy Scud missile launchers with the newly armed Black Hawks. Durant explains the context of U.S. involvement in Somalia, initially providing security for humanitarian efforts that quickly morphed into a more ambitious but ultimately unmanageable mission to disarm local warlords, chiefly Mohammed Farah Aidid. The 1993 incident came after a series of escalating hostilities, including the killing of UN Pakistani forces and attacks against American troops. He details the planning, rehearsals, and execution of multiple direct action raids targeting Aidid's leadership and infrastructure. Durant notes the challenges of operating in Mogadishu's urban environment and the increasing hostility shown by Somali militants. He emphasizes the operational successes despite the complexity, but laments the lack of vital support requested by ground commanders, including no aircraft carrier, no tanks for rescue missions, limited AC-130 gunship support, and inadequate counter-battery fire systems, which contributed to the heavy casualties suffered. Durant recounts the catastrophic events of October 3, 1993, when two Black Hawks were shot down during a raid to capture Aidid's high-ranking lieutenants. He narrates his own aircraft being hit, spinning out of control and crashing. Injured with a broken femur and crushed vertebrae, Durant survived the crash but was captured by Somali militia. During his captivity, Durant was aggressively beaten but managed to survive through resilience, faith, and family motivation. He describes vivid details of being paraded as a prisoner in the streets of Mogadishu, suffering further injuries, including a gunshot wound and constant physical abuse. Durant kept a private journal disguised as Bible reading and developed covert communication methods, helped in part by an illegally obtained transistor radio that connected him to broadcasts from outside. He tells of Red Cross visits and attempts by Somali groups to indoctrinate him politically, all of which he resisted. Despite his condition and treatment, he managed to keep hopes of rescue alive. After several weeks and under pressure from U.S. diplomatic and military officials, Durant was finally released alongside a Nigerian prisoner. Durant is highly critical of the political decisions surrounding the Somalia mission, lamenting the withdrawal of crucial support assets and the under-resourcing of the mission. He places blame on civilian leadership for failing the soldiers on the ground and allowing a tactical challenge to become a political fiasco. He describes this as a repeated pattern in American military engagements where political expediency often trumps operational effectiveness. The conversation touches on the Netflix documentary that purported to recount the Somalia battle, but takes a perspective Durant strongly disagrees with. He condemns the film's portrayal, which seemed to mischaracterize American forces and omit key acts of heroism, such as the sacrifice of Gary Gordon and Randy Shughart, Medal of Honor recipients. Durant expresses frustration at Hollywood's political bias and the misleading narrative presented, which does not honor the realities or sacrifices of the soldiers involved. Durant shares his experience running for the U.S. Senate in Alabama in 2002. Initially, he was encouraged to run because of his military background and perceived outsider status. He discusses the challenges faced during the campaign running against career politicians and figures backed by established political machines. He describes how powerful interests worked against him, including media misinformation falsely labeling him as anti-Second Amendment based on a misquoted brief, and the interference of influential political figures who backed his opponents. Durant reflects on the divisiveness and dishonesty in political campaigns and the difficulty for newcomers to make a genuine impact. Mike Durant is actively involved with the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting the education and welfare of the families of fallen Special Operations personnel and wounded warriors. He emphasizes the expansive nature of the organization's work from cradle to career, funding college and trade education for hundreds of children and providing counseling and outreach. He stresses the importance of such organizations in addressing not only financial needs, but also mental health challenges, including a high incidence of veteran suicides, expressing a strong commitment to improving support for these communities. Among suggestions for notable guests, Durant recommends Dr. Peter Attia, a well-known physician focused on longevity and health optimization. Ultra-endurance athlete Kilian Jornet, with his astonishing record of mountain climbing and biking, and Brian Stern of Grable Rescue, a nonprofit conducting rapid response humanitarian and anti-trafficking missions worldwide. Throughout the interview, Mike Durant reflects on the immense luck and grace that sustained him through his military and captivity experiences. He expresses gratitude for his family and friends and a commitment to share the truth of these events, honoring the sacrifice of his comrades while remaining critical of the political and bureaucratic failures surrounding the Somalia operation.